Welcome back to Navigating the Streams. I'm Mike DeLong, and I'm here to tell you about all the movies I watched in June. I watched 12 movies last month, including 3 disappointments from this year, plus one good 2026 movie, some nostalgia picks, and a bunch of classics. As always, I'm giving you my reviews from least favorite to most favorite. Let me know what you think. First up, I've got Masters of the Universe, and I gave it 2.5 stars. I really wanted to like Masters of the Universe, but they seriously messed up the tone. To protect Eternia, the sorceress sends Adam and the Sword of Power to Earth. There he grows up searching for the sword he lost. When he returns, he must defeat Skeletor and his minions to free Eternia from evil. Now, that sounds exciting. However, they turned this movie into a comedy with jokes at every turn when it should have been more serious. I'm not saying that there should have been no jokes. The cartoon had its fair share, but everything gets diminished by the amount of comedy throughout. I really like the story, but the script is horrible. My eyes rolled several times at what they were saying. I was worried when the previews came out and Adam was on Earth, but I thought it worked in the story and they didn't overstay their welcome. Eternia looks great. Some might think it's too fake looking, but I thought it worked. The cast works, but again, they're really let down by the script. This movie was just so disappointing. I hope one day they can get this story right. Next up is Ben-Hur, and I gave it 2.75 stars. Ben-Hur is a bloated, overacted piece of biblical propaganda. Charlton Heston plays Judah Ben-Hur, a Jewish prince who runs afoul of the new head of the Roman army, Messala, who Judah was friends with when they were children. He is accused of attacking the new governor and sent into slavery, where he plots revenge for himself and his family. First, let's start with the things that I admire about Ben-Hur. The sets and costumes are great. It's astonishing to see them on screen and imagine the work that went into them. There's no CGI, obviously, so each person on screen is a real person. Each set or miniature is real. Each costume had to be created. It's one reason I love watching old movies, to be awed by the scope of the work. But for me, that's the end of the good stuff. Charlton Heston is so melodramatic that it's painful. I can't think of a single movie he's ever been good in. The rest of the acting isn't great either. I can't believe that this movie won 2 acting Oscars, let alone was nominated for any. There are several Arab characters, but they had to put one in brownface? Why? Nobody else is. And the story is just too much. I wouldn't mind a first century revenge story, but the religious browbeating of the movie is just too much for this Christian to stomach. Jesus makes a few cameos and is talked about several times in the movie, but I honestly believe that if they removed all of it, this would be a better movie. Ben-Hur is a movie that I never hope I have to watch again. I just don't think I can handle all 3.5 hours of it one more time. The Bride comes next, and I gave it 3 stars. The Bride has been on my watch list since early 2025. It wasn't highly anticipated, but I still wanted to see it, and it was fine. Jessie Buckley plays Ida, a woman in 1930s Chicago who dies in what seems like an accident. Meanwhile, Frankenstein's creature, who goes by Frank, played by Christian Bale, desires a companion to spend his eternity with. With the help of Dr. Euphronius, Ida is revived, and she and Frank go on a whirlwind tour that ends up being akin to Bonnie and Clyde, while Ida tries to remember who she was. So I was with this movie for a good while. The performances are pretty good, and so is the story. There's one huge distraction throughout the movie, though, and that's Ida's conversation with Mary Shelley, also played by Buckley. It's almost like the character is talking to God, and it's there from the first moments. It didn't work for me, but I know it has for some. The movie is also pretty repetitive, and by the 3rd or 4th go-around, my interest was waning. There's definitely a message about women's strength and liberation throughout this movie, and I was with it until it felt like Ida was browbeating me over the head with it. She practically said, "Hey, this is the message! This is what director Maggie Gyllenhaal's trying to say with this movie!" And that's where it lost me. Also, the ending felt clunky as well. I think this movie could have worked well. Maybe cut 20 minutes and more of a subliminal subtext, and I think I would have enjoyed it. However, as it stands, I just found it disappointing. Next up is Scream 7, and I also gave it 3 stars. After really enjoying the revival of the Scream series, I was ultimately disappointed with this latest one. After terrorizing a new cast of characters in New York, the Ghostface Killer is back after his original prey, Sydney, and her daughter, who knows none of the facts of her mother's backstory, only rumors. And guess what else? Stu, Matthew Lillard's character, is back from the original Scream. There's very little new things that this entry brings to the series. Really, all I can think of is some mother-daughter tension. Sydney gets a call from the killer, teens die, boyfriends are blamed, Gail rushes in, town goes into lockdown, big standoff at the end, and the killer's motivations are pretty flimsy. Neve Campbell and the rest of the cast are pretty good. Courtney Cox is back, of course, and so are Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding from 5 and 6, now as Gail's crew. The only thing that makes me think of this movie is the great song by Ice Nine Kills and McKenna Grace called Twisting the Knife. I would really love this rock song to be nominated for Best Original Song. How do we make that happen? I don't think there's much of a reason to watch this one. It's fine, but not good. It's a shame the story needed to be changed and characters axed for political reasons. I think I would have rather seen that one. I've got Slumdog Millionaire next, and I also gave it 3 stars. Slumdog Millionaire is about the most mid a movie could be. It didn't do anything to make me super excited, but neither did it offend. Dev Patel plays Jamal, a poor Indian man who has a surprisingly interesting life. He gets on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to get the attention of a woman who's in a bad situation, but he is cared about for nearly his whole life. Luckily for him, the questions line up with his life experience, but the host believes he is cheating. The movie goes back and forth from the present day to the moments of his past that shows how he knows the answers to all the questions. The acting is fine, but understated. Danny Boyle directs, and it's very obvious that he does. There's nothing special about this movie, besides the story, but I give that begrudgingly. It's hard to believe that this movie won 6 Oscars. There are at least 6 movies from 2008 that are better than this one that weren't even nominated for Best Picture. I mean, I guess I'm glad Danny Boyle has an Oscar, but I wish it were for a better movie. No Country for Old Men is up next, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I know a lot of people love this movie, but I never felt the same way. This rewatch only confirmed that it's a bit of a disappointment for me. A drug deal goes bad in the desert, and a down-on-his-luck man, Lewin, played by Josh Brolin, finds the money. An unstoppable force hunts him down, while the local sheriff, played by Tommy Lee Jones, investigates. There's a lot going on in this movie that is really good. The acting, especially Javier Bardem, and the story are good. The scenery and sense of place really work, but it just doesn't do it for me. The movie is slow and has stretches of very little dialogue. Which is on purpose, I get that, but by the end my mind was wandering a little. There are characters that are good, but could be completely removed with little consequence. Even Tommy Lee Jones doesn't have a lot to do, and he has top billing. Nothing his sheriff does has any consequence to the plot. If he was sick in bed, nothing in the story would change. I also hated the ending. There are about the same number of endings in this movie that people complain about in Return of the King, and they chose the worst one to end this movie with. I recognize the craft of No Country, but I strongly prefer There Will Be Blood, and would have rather seen that win the Oscar instead. Please like this video and subscribe for future reviews and to find out what's coming to a streaming service near you. Next up is Backrooms, and I gave it 3 3/4 stars. I went into Backrooms knowing very little, except that it was a horror phenom that a lot of people loved. I really liked it, but was underwhelmed by the ending. Chiwetel Ejiofor plays Clark, an architect who owns a furniture shop and is disappointed in life. In the basement of his store, he finds a portal to an unending series of hallways bending in every direction, disobeying the laws of physics, and creepy as hell. He tells his therapist, Mary, played by Renata Reinsve, but he sounds crazy. Eventually, she receives a phone call from Clark saying he's not coming back, and she also finds the portal. The production and sound design in this movie is amazing. You're transported to a place that feels familiar, but at the same time foreign. The acting is good. How could it not with these two actors? But I did have a problem with the story. There's very little explanation, which is part of the director's plan, but he comes close to telling us what this is and why it's there, but refuses to close the deal. I don't have a problem with an unresolved ending, but if you're going to steer me towards a resolution and pull the rug out from under me, chances are I'm not going to like it. This is an intriguing movie with concepts of concepts, but the ending just fell short for me. I've got Her up next, and I gave it 4 stars. I always remember liking Her. It wasn't my favorite movie from 2013, but I really liked the story and I felt the relationship. Joaquin Phoenix plays Theodore, a man whose wife has left him, but he is yet to finalize the divorce. He updates his phone with a new AI named Samantha. They enjoy each other's company and eventually have a serious relationship. The first time I watched Her, I thought Scarlett Johansson, who played the AI, should have gotten a nomination for Best Actress because she was that good. It really surprised me because I didn't think much of her acting before this movie. Phoenix is good too. I'm not much of a fan. I know I'm probably in the minority here, but it's just my personal opinion. But I feel this is one of his better performances. All the side characters are good as well. Director Spike Jonze creates a unique, futuristic society that feels real and achievable. This movie doesn't really have anything to say about the future of AI, but it does have a lot to say about relationships. I thought the relationship between Theodore and Samantha felt authentic, if a bit on the simple side. It's hard to believe that it feels real and watch it grow, but it still works for me. As much as I like Her, I don't think I like it as much as I did after the first time I saw the movie. But I still think it's pretty great. Swing Kids is up next, and I gave it 4 stars. My daughter loves World War II stories, so I introduced her to Swing Kids. In Germany in the 1930s, some people rebelled by listening to swing music, boys growing their hair long, and couples dancing provocatively. Very non-German things. When Peter, a swing kid played by Robert Sean Leonard, is arrested, he joins the Hitler Youth to avoid prison. His friend and fellow swing kid Thomas, played by Christian Bale, also joins Peter, so he won't be alone, promising HJ by day, swing kid by night. This proves easier for Peter than it was for Thomas, who begins to believe the propaganda, affecting their relationship. Man, there's a lot of nostalgia with this movie, but I think it's good. The music is amazing, sparking the swing revival of the 1990s. The acting is also really good by the 3 leads, Leonard, Bale, and Frank Whaley, who plays Arvid, a swing kid who was born with a clubbed foot and takes Nazi ideals very personally. Kenneth Branagh, Barbara Hershey, and a young pre-ER Noah Wyle are also great. I love the costumes and the sets too. If you haven't seen this, or haven't seen it in a while, it's worth the watch. My daughter thought so too. Next up is Batman from 1989, and I gave it 4.25 stars. The original Batman is still one of the best. I shared this movie with my son, and we both had a great time. Michael Keaton plays Bruce Wayne and Batman as he takes on organized crime, now led by the Joker, played by Jack Nicholson. The Joker has put chemicals into hygiene products that, when mixed, can cause death, and Batman must stop him. Keaton, while an unorthodox choice, is wonderful as both Batman and Wayne. Nicholson is amazing, both before and after his transition to Joker. I love that he gives 100% here. Gotham City and all the Bat gear are great too. It does take a little while to get the Joker on screen, which is something I forgot, but it's not boring or slow. Also, the Batman origin story doesn't take place at the beginning either, but flows naturally out of the story. It all works. If you're looking for a great comic book movie to share with your kids, Batman totally works, as long as they can handle a little darkness with their superheroes. Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans is up next, and I gave it 4.25 stars. I have seen Sunrise at least 3 times now. I have always loved this silent movie, but going into this latest rewatch, I was a little afraid that I wouldn't love it as much as I do. A farmer begins an emotional affair with a woman on vacation from the city. She convinces him to kill his wife so they could be together. He attempts to drown his wife, but can't go through with it. This movie sounds pretty dramatic, but it's actually quite funny. Some of this is the 1920s silent era acting, but most of it is in the script. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to spoil any of the plot. Sunrise is actually the only movie to win Best Picture for unique and artistic production. The category was removed the following year for the second Academy Awards. It totally deserves the award too. The movie makes great use of back projections, overlays, and skewed sets to bring German expressionism to Hollywood. It really is a beautiful movie. The reason I was afraid the story wouldn't hold up for me is a bit of a modern perspective. The woman from the city can be viewed as the cause of all the problems, taking any responsibility away from the man. I don't necessarily agree with this point of view, but someone could easily think this and convince others as well. Also, the idealism of the second half feels odd after, an attempted murder. That being said, I still love this movie and find it to be one of the most beautiful in terms of production and story. I would recommend this to any movie lover. Finally, I've got On the Waterfront, and I gave it 4 3/4 stars. On the Waterfront is a wonderful movie about fighting corruption and being true to yourself. Marlon Brando plays Terry, an unintelligent former boxer who now acts as the muscle for the mob-controlled dockworkers union. When his actions lead to a man's death, he becomes conflicted through the words of a priest and the dead man's sister. The acting in this movie is top-notch. It earned 5 acting nominations, 3 in Best Supporting Actor, winning 2 for Brando and Ava St. Marie. The scene in the back of the taxi still brings tears to my eyes. The story is simple but powerful. People may see this as anti-union, especially because it's directed by Elia Kazan, but I don't believe that it is. The union leadership is corrupt here, but that doesn't mean the union is bad. If you've never watched On the Waterfront, it is definitely a must-see. That'll do it for this review video. What are your thoughts on those massive epics from the 1950s? Do you like No Country for Old Men more than I do? Let me know in the comments. If reviews aren't your thing, come back in a couple weeks to find out what's coming to streaming services in August. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.